Welcome back to Our Sending Culture. I am Matt.
Jason.
And I'm Mike Nolan.
Why the fuck do you keep looking at me? You gotta look at the camera.
Look at the fucking camera.
Let's do it again.
Okay, do it again.
Welcome back to Our Sending Culture. I am Matt.
Jason.
And I'm Mike Nolan.
And we are revisiting our most expensive episode ever with Side Project Beer Barrel Time, pitting it next to the newest, more expensiverest BBT Van Winkle Barrel Aged. Let's do it. Way back in the beginning of Our Senate Culture, we this was before I was really
before all the fanfare, all the fame went to our heads.
We were figuring out editing, and we didn't have headsets and shit like that. We did a 2-part episode on Side Project, a brewery out of St. Louis, Missouri, or Maplewood, or whatever.
St. Louis.
And their beer called Beer Barrel Time. And back then, we had accumulated some of these beers, and they were very pricey at the time, and we did 3 or 4 of them.
I think 3 or 4, yeah.
3
for sure.
And cumulatively, that was our most expensive episode ever. And it's still very highly sought after beer, very good beer, very expensive beer. And we all unanimously love the beers. Well, now they got a brand new one, and this is for their 10th anniversary, and it's a Van Winkle aged version of the BBT. But before we get into that, we want to welcome our brand new guest, Mike Nolan. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all doing today?
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks
Mike,
for having me.
Mike Nolan is
welcome.
He's an industry guy, and he's a good friend of ours. I've known you for anywhere from 1 to 13 years. I'm not really sure, but you've been in the alcohol industry for a long time, and you've done numerous roles, and now you have your own. You are a distributor.
That is correct.
And it's called Nolan Distributing, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Nolan Distribution.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, so I think we met maybe 2010, 11, 12, something like that. We've known each other a long time.
Right.
But yeah, Nolan Distribution, it started December 2020, so probably the worst time you could ever start a business.
Right. The COVID project, yeah.
But, I've built it from the ground up.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Here we are. It's April 2023.
It is.
We've, we're at a spot now where we're carrying a lot of the local brands.
Yeah.
My focus mainly is selling good local beer,
Yeah.
The best international beers, and a few regional and even a couple brands out of Florida and things like that as well. But basically, I'm just trying to bring good craft beer to Kentucky. And it's always, beer became a hobby that became part of my life and career.
Right, yeah.
And I'm really, really, really happy.
Well, we're glad you came on, and we appreciate what you're doing, because one thing's for certain, we appreciate good craft beer, and
Thank you.
You're bringing quite a bit around, so thanks a lot, man.
Thank
Can you
you.
talk
Thank you.
about when you first came to fruition and the debacle with what was the distributor that went defunct?
So I used to work for we used to work for a distributor called Dauntless Distributing.
Right.
So that's who I'd worked for, and basically, during 2020, I worked for that distributor for a few years.
Yeah.
And they ended up closing.
Yeah.
So when they closed, I basically said, well, I can try to start my own thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be an uphill climb because he had sold off a lot of the big brands.
Parts
He
of it,
sold
right?
off to the other distributors in the state, and some of the other brands just had no other home.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I can be your home.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's some of these smaller
Yeah.
brands and other importers, and then so I just slowly but surely kind of built up those brands again, and just kind of went through. 2021 was a slow year, and just trying to get my name out there, and so.
Well, I love that because I think I'm sorry, distribution companies. Maybe notoriously kind of have a bad rap across the board because it's this 3-tiered system. It's almost like a forced middleman.
Sure.
And they're just basically like instilling margins, and they're just making money because of an quote unquote maybe archaic, liquor law. But you're like approaching it from like this wholesome aspect of it's like you're familiar with the industry, you have knowledge, you have experience, and a lot of these guys got fucked over, and you're like, you know what, I know what I'm doing, and these guys need help. And even though they're small guys and they have like low volume, it's bullshit that they're not getting the representation they deserve. And you're like, you stepped up, and you're like, you know what, I got this. Yeah. And grassroots mentality just like grew.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, like the laws changed. last year to where, the breweries in Kentucky can now self-distribute,
Right.
which is a big thing.
Yeah.
That was not a thing until last year.
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
had to be with a distributor.
Yeah.
So they don't have to use me now.
Yeah.
They can do their own thing. They can,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, that's also another business. Distribution is its own business model.
Yeah.
It's a
And
headache
so-
you probably don't want if you don't know it.
Yeah.
It's its own business outside of just the brewing aspect, production, tap room, and all that's on the business.
Well, I think
So,
yeah.
but basically, where I come in is I'm very open, and I want the breweries to make money. So I want them to, if they need to self-distribute. So some of the breweries I work with, we have an agreement where they distribute some of their own stuff to certain places, but they don't want to drive all the way to
Right.
some of these cities
Sure.
and
Right.
towns that I go to. So we come to a mutual agreement where everyone's happy and it's
Yeah.
fair. And I think
great.
that's why people want to work with me, because kind of what you were talking about earlier, the distributors are kind of seen as the middleman who just made all the money and didn't really
Right,
do anything
yeah.
for the brands. While I'm more about, let's do this all together and build the brands up.
Yeah. Yeah. You're earning your keep.
You don't want to be the Colonel Tom Parker of Elvis, right? You don't want to handle it like that.
No, I don't know. That's not. It's not.
No, but that's how you. That's,
that's
how
a
you do
great
business.
analogy, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you do business, though, right? So you tell everybody, "Hey, it's my business. I'm making money, but I also want to promote your brand.
Yeah.
I also want to be fair." So,
Yeah.
a couple things I'll say about you is beer.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
If I
So,
didn't, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's very true. Yeah.
So I appreciate that when I go to a brewery, or even when I first met you at the beer shares. Everybody knows you, and then also respect your opinion on beer. If it's not a great beer, you'll tell it. You'll say, "Hey, probably need to make it a little better on that one."
I
So
think that's the best way to be with people.
you got to be open, and
I'm
honest.
very honest with the brewers if they ask my opinion. I don't just try to cater to them and say, "Oh no, that's a great beer."
for sure.
Hey man, I think you should probably change
Yeah.
it, or this is okay, but this one's great.
It's honest. Yeah.
But if you're honest with people, they respect that.
yeah. And
agree.
they
I would
respond
agree.
to that.
They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They really do.
respond positively.
That's how you do
Even when it
business.
comes to their marketing and branding of their cans and everything else.
Yeah.
If you're honest with them,
Yeah.
they really respect that.
Yeah. Well, have you had any side project beer before?
A few
You've never
times,
even heard of it, have you?
probably because of you guys. But,
No. I bet
Yeah.
you've had before us.
But yes,
They make
definitely.
they make some good stuff. I know you've had them.
Yeah.
We've all had them. But
I've had more of their sours than their stouts, maybe. But
really,
Let's,
but he's had.
I
has
mean,
he had
honestly,
the?
the first time that I had Side Project though was probably drinking with both you guys. We were at our friend Aaron's, and
Right.
our other friend in St. Louis area, Jeremy,
Right, I
had sent you
remember
like
that, yeah.
a shit ton, probably a 12 shipper, maybe
We did
more.
it. Yeah, I did it like a
sours.
contest,
Yep,
and like
you
it was.
won.
And he was a friend. It was like a friendly, like local thing between a small group of people.
I think Matt was cheating though. He won like 5 in a row.
Well, no, I think he was just like. There's actually a long story behind there, but the short version is I was cheating.
We've talked a lot about Side Project on this show, and I mean, no secret here. Me and Matt's been there. I've been many, many times. I would love to be a member. Corey, if you're watching, Corey King, I'd love to be a member. But they make probably the best stouts, or at least in the conversation of the best stouts in the world. So, one of their most highly rated iterations of that is BBT. So BBT is simply beer barrel time, so no adjuncts. It's oak aged. It is blended. These are not single barrel aspects in BBT, except this year.
Yeah.
For the 10th anniversary, they have a single barrel offering, the first time they've ever done it. This is aged in old Rip Van Winkle barrels. So this is Pappy or Van Winkle barrel aged.
Right.
Very, very excited to try this one. And also try this year's. So
Try it side by side.
Yep. So the 2022 BBT that came out is actually aged 25 months, and it is Old Rip Van Winkle, Willet Bourbon, and Eagle Rare barrels.
That's the 22.
This is
old
the
version.
correct
Last year's version. Okay.
The 2023 version is just the Old Rip Van Winkle
Yeah.
barrels. So part of this is in this,
Right.
but this is just single barrel.
Yeah, this is like the single barrel aspect. And
So go
I
ahead.
think this will be interesting to see, because this is something we've kind of debated when it comes to beer in the past about how much character does a barrel actually lend to the beer itself, and is it discernible? Is it is it just that much different that it's going to make it that much better if you use a 2-year-old Heaven Hill barrel versus a
Correct.
23-year-old like Van Winkle or Pappy barrel or something.
Well, another thing you look at here is some of the favorite barrels. We've talked about 10 times on the show is Willet Bourbon, young bourbon or rye barrels Corey King at Side Project likes to use. Yeah. So this has some of that in it, and this is only 10-year-old barrels. Yeah. So we'll see how they go. Now, these do have the holographic seal, so they're real, we think.
Yeah, unless there's somebody who's got a holographic seal cloning machine out there. Yeah.
So let's try these. Matt, would you mind to open that one for us? And I will take this one. So a big thing to remember when we're talking stouts, adjuncts are kind of the new thing. Coconut, cacao nibs, coffee. I mean, everybody wants that vanilla. But Side Project is really stay traditional and say, I mean, they make some of those, but traditionally, Jordan, you get some of this one. Did you get some already?
So this is just a stout, no adjuncts.
No adjuncts at all. This is beer that they made, barrel, and then time in the barrel. So that's BBT. That's what they're saying, beer barrel time.
Did you get your second pour?
Do we know how long?
Don't rush me, Matt. I do know. Give me just a second to pour this, and I will pass that way. Did you get some of this one, Matt?
Yeah. Who hasn't had the regular?
I have had regular. We got other people coming. We'll save it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So for the BBT on this one, so the 2022 regular BBT. So this is a blend of the OWK and the Vibes recipe. So their Vibes recipe is through the Shared brand,
right,
which is kind of their offshoot. We've talked
Side
about
Project,
that
Side Project, yeah.
Exactly. And Side Project was essentially, who makes the Braxis Perennial?
Right.
It was a Perennials. The 2022 is a blend, so 3 different barrels. And they're aged between 17 and 37 months. So roughly a year and a half to 3 years.
Wow.
Now,
okay.
The single barrel, the old Rip Van Winkle or the Van Winkle BBT, is aged, I think it's 25 months. Let me double check that. It is. So 25 months in there, a little bit over 2 years. Now, again, don't forget, part of that Van Winkle is in the BBT.
Sure.
So which one are you trying first?
Regular.
Yeah, gotta go regular first, right?
I mean, regular smells fantastic.
I'm giving both of them a whiff, back to back. The regular BBT, does it almost smell stronger?
It does.
Like more like fusel?
It's also released a little earlier. So the 2022 BBT has been out longer than the 2023.
But I feel like that should be backwards, shouldn't it? Like if it's been sitting longer, maybe that some of that should
Not
like melt
necessarily.
together.
I mean, well, yeah, you're right. The alcohol usually fades a little bit. Usually your adjuncts fade. So.
And it might not be the alcohol. Maybe there's another ingredient in there that's kind of maybe a little bit sharper. But the
I feel like I agree though. I think the regular is more. I mean, you really get it in the nose, and it's a little more muted with the Pappy one. But
yeah, and you know what I'm getting with the Pappy one on the nose? It's something kind of nutty that's nostalgic in like an old school stout kind of way. Like you remember we were like sitting around having bottle shares, and somebody opens like the Parabola for the first time that you've ever had, and you're just like, this is a stout aged in a bourbon barrel. Here, try this. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, and you like smell it, and you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. I get that kind of nostalgia out of the. I'm trying to figure out the nomenclature here from the Van Winkle BBT. I'm getting that kind of like nostalgia. It reminds me of old school, just like really smooth, like, and this just off the aroma, like barrel aged stout. And I'm getting that from the regular 2022 BBT as well. It just there's something a little bit more like not acrid but like sharp on there. Could be alcohol, but could be like another aspect from the aging or something like that.
Sure.
So Nolan, have you ever had a Pappy barrel aged beer before?
I love the response. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you know that. Yes.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So the reason Jason asked me that is because I work for a brewery that actually no longer exists called Flat 12 Beer Works. Mm-hmm. And one of their claim to fames was their Pinko 12, which is a Russian Imperial Stout.
That was my fucking jam. You remember that?
Your jam.
I love that beer.
It was your jam, and it was a Russian Imperial Stout that they had aged in Pappy Van Winkle barrels.
Yeah.
And I remember you took a lovely picture of it with like the sunset in the background and all this. And like
I took a cigar picture too. I think I put like cigar smoke like floating out of it, make it a little smoky.
And a lot of people that knew me and like, or even if they didn't know me, became to know me because of that beer. Because we had so many 6 barrels of it that I sold to all these different places.
That was a fantastic beer.
Yeah. And brought bottles of it to people. And then about a year later, I brought down like different, even other variants of Pinko that Aaron ended up just popping open.
That would have been nice.
I think Matt did a cuvee.
That would have been nice to try. I really wish. So can we tell that story?
You can tell whatever you want.
Anybody?
Sure.
So this beer Pinko from Flat 12 that Nolan was a part of. He knew that I loved it so much. Did I end up buying a case from you? I wanted to buy a case. I can't remember. We discussed that.
Well, it was just however many bottles I was able to bring. I don't remember how many it was. I think it was close to a case.
Yeah. But they released some variants with some different either adjuncts or barrels or maybe both.
Yeah, add a vanilla, this and that and the other, whatever.
And Nolan surprised me, and he brought me 3 bottles of some really good versions, 22-ounce large format bottles, and he just gave them to me. He was like, "This is for you," and I was touched, dude. I was fucking touched, dude. You fucking touched me.
It was a special moment. We took video. We cried a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you loved that beer so much.
I did.
And we were doing Pinko Day at Flat 12.
Really?
And I drove from Indianapolis that day.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was funny. Jason Chisholm, Sean Kane were up there that day for the event.
Yeah.
And I drove back from Indianapolis to go to this bottle share at
Yeah.
Aaron's.
And we had all been sitting around drinking.
And I didn't say anything, but I brought those beers and I was giving them to you just to give them because you were such a fan.
I was like
beer.
the biggest Pinko fan, and
100%.
you were being so awesome and generous, and it was almost like ceremonial. He pulls out these bottles. He's he puts them on the bar, all 3 of them. Were you there, Jordan?
I was there.
I know Jason was there. We're at this bottle share. We've been drinking for probably 6 hours, and
At least.
he takes these 3 large format bottles, puts them next to each other on his bar, and he's like, "Matt, these are few." I'm like, "Fuck, dude, that is absolutely amazing." And
Pretty
me and
sure
him,
you cried.
and and I had the single tear, from the Indian commercial, coming down my cheek. And he's like, "Nolan's telling me about him," and he's like, "So this one has this adjunct in there," and I can't even remember what they were.
It was actually the Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah, there's dogs dying in the background. Oh, it was
With
so
Pinkos.
touching. Yeah, and they're pouring a Pinko out for their dog homies. And then our buddy, the host there,
Snoop came through.
Our buddy Aaron goes in behind the bar and he just says, "It's a celebration, bitches." And he takes a bottle opener and he goes, "Pop, pop, pop." He opens all 3 of them, grabs all 3 bottles at the same time, and just starts pouring them in everybody's glass at the same time.
He made a cuvee.
He's just mixing it all together. And me and Nolan did the old school slow-mo
Unbelievable.
We just looked at each other and we're just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
So anybody that goes to a bottle share, if you go to a beer bottle share, one thing to remember, kids, don't open your best bottles in the night. There is not a chance in hell you're going to remember those.
And in our buddy's
your palate
defense,
shot.
we were all very,
yeah,
we
for
were
sure.
inebriated.
He didn't even remember doing it.
He doesn't remember.
Yeah.
But it happens. I mean, I've done it too. You save your best bottle to the last. That's
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Break them out first.
Yeah,
Break them out first.
Exactly.
Which is what we're doing today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking here? Have you tried them both now?
I have tried the BBT. I want to wait to try it. And I want to hear your all's.
Okay.
So you've never had BBT before. You have had it.
Oh, he
Nolan.
has. He
You've
has.
had it once. Okay. It's nice to revisit this. We've had it a couple times, a few times.
We've had every iteration, every version.
And it's still, I think it's an amazing beer.
Totally
Whether
agree.
it's the best beer ever, I don't know. It's up there. I mean, it's a really good fucking beer.
For a stout with no adjuncts, it's hard to argue. I mean, even if you think it's changed some, even if you think things caught up.
Yeah.
I think Phase 3, I think Side Project, and then I think Hill Farmstead are probably the best non-adjuncted barrel-aged stouts.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say, I don't even know I put Hill Farmstead in that conversation, but this is so smooth.
What's the dog? I see the picture. What's their stout called? With
That's
the dog
not
on
that's
it.
not Aaron, is it?
No, Aaron's a barley wine. The dog, I just can't think of the damn name. Damon? Is it Damon?
Yes.
It's Damon.
Yes.
It's pretty damn good.
I don't think it's this level though. I don't think it comes anywhere close to
This
this.
is better, but it's a little thinner. But I think the flavors are there.
Now Damon,
so.
it's I think 10 years ago is when I tried that one, so I don't even know if I remember. And this one is,
Side Project's been going for 6 years on the BBT.
Yeah.
6 or 7. So,
but it's decadent sweet. It almost has an adjunct kind of sweetness, and there's no adjuncts in it, which is a testament to their methods. It's absolutely amazing.
so I do think this one ranks up there with some of the best we've had. Regardless, we can split hairs on that. Yeah. Side Project, known initially, I think what Nolan said was for sours, and they were. I think now though it's been for the last 6-7 years since derivation has been longer than that, but they've been known for stouts too. So they're one of the top stout producers there are. So have you all visited the Van Winkle version yet? Because I have.
I have, yes.
So what do you think? You think there's some differences there? First let's start with the regular. So tasty notes on the 2022. Nolan, anything you're picking out of there? I'll go back to it too.
It's got a nice, like, silky, kind of like a little thickness, but not too thick. You definitely get dark chocolate. Wow, it's just it's almost like an almond joy, but like I don't want to say there's coconut, but it's kind of there.
It is oily.
Oily, very. I don't want to say syrupy. That's the wrong word, but it's got that thickness. But silk, I think, is the best way to say it. Yeah. And maybe some hidden dark fruit there. Chocolate covered fruit, maybe.
I think that's spot on. Honestly,
I really enjoy this. And then when I go to the Pappy version, it's
don't talk about that.
We won't go to that then. Well,
so I will reiterate what you said. I think that's a very, very good description. If you're used to drinking, no offense to them, Angry Chair. If you're used to drinking that this is probably not the best beer you've had. But there's a lot of nuances in this. This is not a pastry stout. This is not adjuncted up. This doesn't have 1,700 pounds of marshmallow and peanut butter in it. But for a beer with barrel only and some time, BBT, probably one of the best. Now, I've had all the BBTs. It is hard for me to rank this in there because... it's been 6 years since I've had some of them.
Right, yeah.
It ranks up there with them. It's not a bad beer. I think it's better than the rye versions I've had. I've had two. It ranks up there. It's not a bad version at all. Yeah. So I think tasty notes, Nolan, you nailed it. Matt, do you have anything different on that one?
I think as an American, Americans, America, we push the envelope, and it's like you look at the direction beer has gone, and the pastry stout movement and pastry sours and everything. It's like, how close can we get a beer to taste like a piece of cake or something else that's not beer? Yeah. And it's kind of frustrating from a purist perspective because it's like, hey, let's take a really good beverage and make it taste something completely different than that beverage.
Yep.
But it's kind of fun to see something like BBT from Side Project where they are able to emulate some of those notes with the sweetness, with the character, with the nuttiness, with the smoothness that you would get if you had put a whole fucking German chocolate cake in a beer.
Yep.
But they didn't do anything. They just made the beer. It's really, again, I keep saying it's a testament to the way Corey and all them the way they brew. It's phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah, the more I drink this beer, I'm like, how do they get those flavors without without throwing all the adjuncts that everyone else does to get those flavors?
And what's funny is you talk about Angry Chair out of Florida. If I can't say this per se, but if they actually release something like this and they said, okay, so we have created a adjunct stout and we put 800 pounds of cocoa nibs and 600 chocolate donuts. You know what I mean?
I think they've done that twice.
Right, exactly. Twice. 100 times.
This month.
Exactly.
Actually, yeah.
And they released something similar. And it tasted just like this. I'm not saying this literally. This is more like an analogy. And it tasted just like this. I think people would just be like, hey, there's another beer that tastes like cake. The fact that they were able to achieve this, I think, is pretty amazing.
Well, and no offense to Angry Chair. They make some good beer too, but it's not something I want every day. And this isn't something I want every day. I want variety. I think as a beer nerd, we want variety. We want more flavor, but I don't know how much better you could make a stout that's barrel aged, no adjuncts than this one.
Right.
You might say, hey, everybody says batch 2 was the best BBT. Maybe. But if you had it now side to side by this, it's not true. It's 4 or 5 years old. So,
exactly.
But Angry Chair, and no offense to you, you wish you could make this.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, I wish I could make it, or every brewery wishes they could make it.
Yeah. This is pretty amazing.
They can't. So, it is what it is. Back to the Van Winkle, though. We'll start with Nolan. So, different tasty notes, similar tasty notes. What are you getting there?
Honestly, I think it is very similar.
The 2022 BBT has threads of this Van Winkle BBT in it. Honestly, about 8 months earlier, they pulled it from the barrel to blend it in. So, the BBT single barrel is extended age a little bit and single barrel. So
it's not as silky to me, but I feel like it's more I don't know. I get more of just the dark chocolate and more maybe just a tap. I actually can get a little bit of the barrel. Yeah. I feel like I get a little bit of bourbon to it versus. I feel like I didn't get as much bourbon out of actually on the actual regular, but I feel like with this one, I feel like I do get some more barrel characteristics out of it.
I agree with that. I think the Van Winkle one is the primary difference, in my opinion, is that it's a little more barrel forward, but not in an alcohol, not in a potency kind of way. In a it's not even oak. It's almost like cinnamon. Like there's a specific aspect of the barrel that's really shining through. And when I say cinnamon, I don't mean it's like, like it's spicy, it's sharp, it's hot. But it's
not drinking Fireball.
Exactly right. Yeah, but there is a kind of like a slightly more sharp aspect that I can only think of right now is like it's cinnamon whiskey kind of like tinge in there that's really like coming forward like from the barrel character. That's the primary difference for me.
So I think something with me is, so Rip Van Winkle, Weller Special Reserve, OWA, the whole lineup of Weller, it's weeded.
Right.
So I think that might be some characteristic of that too.
Okay.
By far, this is going to be the oldest barrel that they have in the BBT 2022 blend.
Okay.
So this is a 10-year-old Old Rip Van Winkle barrel when they got it.
Yeah.
Before they even aged anything in it. So it's a more mature barrel, and I think the weeded aspect might play a little bit of part in that.
How do you think?
Well, I mean, weeded mash bill is going to be different than your traditional bourbon mash
So
bill.
are you getting more barrel character from the Van Winkle?
I think it's a little more barrel forward, but not in a bad way. Like
No,
what you
I
all
agree.
Said. But I think it's a little sweeter for me. Not like it's not like an added sugar to it. It's just a little bit sweeter.
Yeah.
I do get some light cinnamon, but I can see where you're going there.
Right, yeah.
I get a little bit more vanilla, a
Like
little bit more barrel.
Spice on
There's
there
something there, and I'm looking at my glass. There's like little floaties, but I don't know what the hell they are.
I see that too.
I don't know, but there's no adjunct, so it's probably chunks of damn barrel. I don't know.
Very well could be.
For me, and I'll go first on this one, I think it's better. I don't know how much better. I mean, I think it's 15% better. I mean, I don't know how to quantify that, but that's my opinion. Jordan, did you say something back there?
It depends on what you're looking for.
Depends on what you're looking for. That's correct.
I would say it's equal, but in different versions. Okay. So I think it's a great version of the same thing. So it's like if I gave this BBT a 4.85, I would give this. Is that what's
the Van Winkle BBT rates a 4.84.
So there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
If I gave one a 4.85, I'd probably give the other one a 4.85.
I would agree.
They're not the same beer, but they're both equally really good in different respects, but just like slightly different respects.
So how are they achieving this? So I guess my question is.
Well, first off, I'm gonna kiss his ass. It is what it is. Corey's a damn wizard. I mean, nobody else is doing this.
No, I actually Googled it.
This is the first single barrel they've ever done stout like this.
I Googled it. This is what he did. He actually
unicorn piss.
There was a group of people that actually had like inside knowledge, and he got into that group early, and the way to do it was to sign a contract that sells your soul to the devil. And he signed that immediately. And then, but as soon as he did, they were all discussing. While they were discussing, he beat him to the punch, and he got in early. So, like, as soon as he did
a golden fiddle?
The devil was like, "Oh, I got you, son." He was actually playing the fiddle the way he did it. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it's just like the rest is history.
Or does it come down to how soon are they putting the beer in the barrel? I mean, are they picking this up from Bardstown and 2 days later? So, are they putting the beer in the barrel? Because, I mean, you got to think, like, how many people are barrel aging beers? I mean, it used to be a thing, and now it's everybody's doing
this
it.
This is just like you're reading my mind.
So like, how fresh are these barrels? Are they getting them 2 days after it come off? Well, so that's tell me, because I feel like this has to have something to do with it.
So he talked about this, and so when Side Project does a release coming up, they release like it's multiple paragraphs about the beer that's coming up. They'll give you a heads up for this nice of a beer. I think we had like a month's head up of when it was coming out, like the release. He got this from a barrel broker, so somebody that has the barrels and has access, and they, I guess, messaged him and said, "Hey, we have 20 barrels of Old Rip Van Winkle. Can you take them?"
Can you take them?
Yeah, but hold on. So you want to wet?
Are you sure that's what he said? Like, are you? Will you take them now?
Yeah.
What you said was the timing. So you want a wet, fresh dump barrel, right? You don't want the wood that's been sitting there for 6 months. You want freshly dumped. So that was freshly dumped, given to the barrel broker, and just so happened, like everything aligned, he had a batch of OWK, which means you got the tribe there,
right?
Aging. I mean, brewing. It was done brewing, ready to go into barrels, within 3 days of them messaging him.
Yeah.
So it's perfect timing, and that's what happened. Like stars aligned.
Really?
And he even talks about, I don't know if I ever get these. He's never had these again. He got these in 2017, I think it was. No, I'm sorry, 2019.
So there's a good chance that this exact recipe will never be replicated.
100%, that's correct.
But then also, how do you figure out when's the best time to pull it from the barrel? I mean, obviously
Experience.
they can taste out of the barrel and pull it out,
pull the nail or whatever. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I guess like you said, just experimenting. But I mean, I think it really matters how soon it goes into the barrel.
You're asking what differentiates a guy like Corey King from the average brewer that can't do something like this?
I mean, I think what I'm saying is just what it comes down to, how quick do you put it in the barrel, but also the experience too, because how they brew the beer, obviously.
Because I don't think it's just the barrel.
No, I think it does come down to how they brew it, because you can have the exact same recipe as any of these guys out here and brew it, and 10 different brewers can make it, and it'll all be different.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And some will be really shitty. Honestly,
right. It can be the same recipe, how you brew it and your water and all that. There's all these millions other factors.
I'm going to say he does not slip on the pH of his water. He does not slip on cleaning the equipment. He's got
those are
everything
two
lined
major
up.
factors
They're
that people
huge.
don't think about, but they are huge. Water and how well
probably
you clean your equipment.
the hugest. I mean, honestly.
Well, but the thing is, I think with a lot of established breweries, I think pH is on a different level, because some breweries just don't have that luxury of being able to control something to that degree. But a lot of, when it comes to cleanliness and stuff, like a lot of established breweries, they do practice, very strict standards.
Yeah.
There is another element. There's another element to it, and it's something that comes with either experience, like Jason said, or maybe just, I don't think it's just barrel necessarily, and like when you pull it from the barrel, but there's a je ne sais quoi in there that this guy, and I say this guy, but he's got a team.
Yeah, but it's also cleanliness, right? So is it Jason cleaning it, or is it Matt cleaning it, or is it somebody I'm paying minimum wage to clean it? Like, how clean is it?
I think it even goes beyond that, because
no, I think cleanliness of everything in the brewing process is
let me put it this way:
80%.
If Anheuser-Busch wanted to create something like this,
they could not.
They couldn't.
There's no way they could.
And they would probably bar none have the most stringent cleaning standards. I don't think they could create this.
I would agree with that. They could.
No, I agree too. I mean, I think there's so many different factors.
They're too precise. They're too manufactured for it. I mean, it just is.
Yes. So that maybe there's a creativity aspect to it.
Yeah. And you look at BBT every year. There's nuances. It's never been the same beer twice.
Yeah, but you try to analyze the mind of Picasso, and you just can't.
So let's talk money. I mean, we're gonna
talk money, bitch.
Talk money.
Money.
The BBT set, the 2022. I think it came with 2 other beers in that one. It was about $200. Secondary on that taller bottle is $210.
The taller bottle being the 2022.
2022. So for $200, would you buy that and 2 to 3 other mid-tier sour beers, Matt?
Yeah.
Nolan.
Like, I wouldn't even think about it.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy 20 of them, but I would buy one, 2. Yeah, fuck yeah. I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah. Nolan?
But I paid $200 for this bottle.
No, that bottle and 2 to 3
package.
other bottles is a package. You cannot, unless you're a Lakota member, I think that's how you say it. Unless you're a member of their membership, you could not buy.
You're getting this with 3 or 4 other sours.
2 to 3.
Yeah. I think I would. I would. I mean, and normally I wouldn't.
I'm like
being in the
Matt.
industry as long as I've been in, and drink so many different things.
Yeah.
But
I've never had a bad one. I'd buy it at that. Again, I'm not buying 4. No. So secondary on that bottle, $210. Would you just pay $210? Say I don't want the sours. Would you just take that for $210? Which is pretty cheap considering.
I would do it. I would do that once. If I hadn't had it before, I would do it. If I had it before, I might still do it.
Maybe go in with 3 other people and say
exactly right. That's a perfect option. I would be like, hey, 3 of you all want to split it, get 4 people, you get like a boss pour like this, whatever. Yeah, I think that's good.
So on the Van Winkle BBT, surprisingly, that one was $150. It came with 3 other beers, so 3 other sours. It's also half the size of that one.
Right.
Single barrel, first time I ever did it, so that was $150. Would you pay that, Nolan? That's not secondary, it's retail.
I mean, it's so similar. I mean, it is different, but it's very similar. I mean, probably just because we live in Kentucky, and so anybody that can say, "Hey, we're drinking a beer."
We take baths in Pappy 15.
Oh, yeah.
That's what everybody says.
So,
yeah,
my dog drinks Pappy 20. So
yeah.
Just water.
I mean, I don't. I
actually got Pappy 20 in my toilet bowl. I just piss in it.
You just piss Pappy 20. Yeah, just flush.
Yeah, just flush it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would pay that, but at the same time, I don't have to because you guys will split it with me.
Hey, son of a bitch,
that's a drop.
You played your hand, motherfucker.
y'all bitches will split it with me. So I would buy that for $150. In fact, I did. That was a good purchase by me. Yeah. Matt, you said you would.
So now I owe you $50 is what you're saying.
75.
If I hadn't had it before, I would definitely go.
Well, you haven't had it before.
Yeah. Well, knowing what it is, if I'm comparing it to this one right here.
Well, you think 200 to 150 retail?
The value aspect for being twice as big, like again, go back to what we were talking about quality. Like, I think they're very equally good versions.
So what you're saying is bigger's better.
In this case, I think bigger's better.
Oh, okay.
That's seriously, what Morgan and Morgan say.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Morgan and Morgan.
Oh, we got somebody in the back. Hold up.
I think it's a buy both day for the stouts, but what do you
100%.
guys think about packaging stouts with the sours? Do you like that?
Yeah, good question. So no one's in the distro thing. We'll hold his comments to last if he wants to give them. But what do you think, Matt, about buying this beer? You can't buy this beer solo. You have to buy it with 3 other bottles of sours that you might not want.
I'll put it this way: if I was a business person,
I would do it all day, every day,
and I knew what I was sitting on. Mm-hmm. And I knew what I had to push. Mm-hmm. That is the first thing and only thing that I would do. I think makes very smart business sense.
But, and I'm going to add my 2 cents on this one too before we go to Nolan if he wants to answer. But, when we were up at Side Project, you remember Corey King was there and said, "Hey, I'll be back in a minute." He went in the cooler, in the dungeon, whatever, and pulled a bottle of sour. Yeah, brings it back out to share with us, and I'm thinking, I don't really want sour.
Right, yeah.
Pours it for us. Fantastic.
Fucking great sour.
Fantastic.
It was really good, yeah.
I mean, it probably my favorite, the beer surprise of the day, let's say. Let's say the surprise beer of the
day. It was like a non-fruited, just like a standard.
I wouldn't have bought that beer ever.
Yeah,
and
it was really good. Yeah, yeah.
So, knowing that, I'm knowing the appreciation. I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it.
I think it's obvious what the drive is here, especially like if the package is like 4 bottles, and 3 of them are the same. Yeah. Well, obviously we know what you're going for.
Well, they usually do everything different, but it's still like base, and you're like, I don't know.
I think it's a pay to play kind of thing.
Nolan, do you want to answer that? No, you don't have to.
I don't care. So, at the end of the day, like, people are curious, and in the beer world, beer nerds like to try anything. 100%. So they'll try it once. A beer is really worth it if they try it twice. Yeah. If they buy it twice. So. Yeah. If I bring anything cool, as long as the price isn't too outrageous, and as long as, marketing also sells these beers.
100%.
At the end of the day, marketing sells.
It's a beautiful label, beautiful wax.
We bring this bottle in, and at the end of the day, like, if you have to think about it, I have to bring in more than one beer. I got to fill pallets because if not,
So you're looking at volume, not one bottle.
It doesn't make sense. I have to order so many cases just to make it make sense.
There's different levels of this shit. We know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole thing to all this. However, the way you have to look at it is everyone will at least try it once, but it's will they buy it a second time?
They have. So good question, but honestly, BBT's in probably the 6th version.
Oh yeah, I mean this beer they're going to buy all day
every
long.
time.
Right, yeah. But but at the same time, like, you have liquor stores that'll say, like, hey, you can have a beer like this, but you got to buy this 4-pack of something else.
And that's what we run into with Buffalo Trace.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's become
you have to buy a Wheatley vodka to even have a chance at getting OWA or Pappy. You know what I mean? That's and there've actually been some lawsuits on that.
It's gotten passed on to consumers when that's.
Yes, it has.
It shouldn't be a thing.
No, I'd be a little more pissed if I had to buy Wheatley vodka with Buffalo Trace because I don't want fucking Wheatley vodka. Like I literally won't drink it. This version here with the Side Project and stuff, like their sours are pretty good in their own right. So I mean, I'm okay with like buying more of their shit. If you want to push it on me, that's fine. It's good business sense from the consumer's perspective. Open your horizons and try. If you're just buying it for the stout, then like try some of our sours if you like it.
And just from a wholesaler's perspective, it's just like you have to think about it. Like if I'm not buying, Ethereal's Wonderland IPA, they're not going to get any hop shakalaka.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to think of it like that. Like it doesn't make any sense. If I don't support your basic. Or you're not basic, but your everyday brands, then why would they give me the specialties? And I think like I would on my side it's just different. Like I have to even get a specialty, I have to buy the core.
But it's like a customer too, though. We all want to say they owe us. You know what I mean? They owe us. But in reality, how many drops do I buy from Side Project a year? However many they do great stuff. I mean, I'm being honest. So. Yeah. It's not that I'm trying to be mean about that, but I get it. I should.
But if you lived in St. Louis, that might be different.
Oh, if I lived in St. Louis, I'd be there probably once a week.
Right, exactly.
I just would.
Yeah.
So
it's all perspective, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's worth it if you've never had it before. I think marginally different in both of them. I prefer the Van Winkle BBT myself. But I mean, they're close. I don't
know if I prefer either. I think they're both great in their own right, and they're both just a little bit different. They are nuanced, but they're both amazing.
I'll be different here. I think they're both great. I just give me the big blend, give me the tall.
All right. Yeah. Hey, I mean, blends.
I can't hate on that. I can't hate on that.
I'm with you.
Yeah.